like a little bit more. I'd like a, I don't, it's, have we had this before?
Yes, we have, and you guys have rejected them.
We were told that they were within, we
We
were
were
told.
told they were in with the supplies.
Yes,
and
we
have
were, but we
rejected
weren't told that they were in a sealed envelope in the supply side of the programs. We were told they were in the supplies. If they're clearly loose within the supplies, that's why I would have definitely said that for sure. I'm not sure, I haven't made any personal determination on this. I'm only referencing why this might be different. And I don't know that.
And she finished talking, I mean, you cut her off before she finished. Can you say what you want to say?
Yeah.
The conversations we've had at your meetings was that it wasn't sealed in the orange bag, they were rejected, regardless of it being in an envelope or not.
Okay, the only thing I ever remember receiving was the fact that they were within the supplies. There's no more details about that. Whether I would have made the decision otherwise, if it was sealed, it's sealed in an envelope that was also signed by the voters after it was sealed, that might be a different issue.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question? The orange bags that came in from these three districts, was there a tally on the front of those orange bags when they were opened, what was said at that time as to where these ballots were? And if not, why wasn't something said immediately about those ballots missing from the tally sheet?
So who opens the sealed bags?
Board of Election staff.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they came here, the bags came here properly sealed. What did not come were the actual ballots.
No, the 6 bags didn't come sealed. These bags are sealed.
Those bags.
These 3 bags.
Those bags,
Yes.
what is it, 1, 3, I'm sorry.
23, 20,
They
25.
arrived sealed properly, but there were no ballots inside.
They arrived sealed, and with the, in your folders is the certificate that would be in the front of the provisional ballot bags, asserting what the chain of custody was and the counts were. And then there's obviously staff countering that number that has been set by the poll workers is inaccurate. We'll go to great lengths to look through the materials to attempt to find that in other locations. But again, I mean, sometimes poll workers will put in poll books in bags that are not marked.
But that's not my question.
Why did they do that?
Why wasn't it brought to your
Excuse me,
attention?
thank you, I'm sorry.
Sometimes the poll workers miscount, and once they've gone through everything, they bring it to my attention, which they did in this case. And as soon as we went through everything, we couldn't locate it, I brought it to Mr. Richards.
Mr. Rittenhouse, I think I get your question. When did we discover this?
Sorry.
But as soon as that bag was opened and it says there's supposed to be 1 there, or 2 there, or 3 there, and there were none there, I would think that you should have been made aware at that time that there was possibly a problem. Not today, not at 11 o'clock this morning.
That's
We
when it
could-
was discovered today.
That's not my point. If you opened that orange bag on election day or after
No,
the
we opened on
election,
election day.
when did you open it?
Yesterday.
No. Provisional ballot bags were opened the day after election day. I'm sure it's proper research.
The question, just to recite the question, if you repeat it, the question was, when we opened the provisional ballot bag, and the inventory on the top of it says there were supposed to be 3 provisional ballots voted in it, or in one district, and 2 in another, and 1 in another. When we opened the bag, and there were none that were none there,
Placed.
should we have been notified at that point, or when we had our next hearing, about that situation? Because in each instance, the poll clerks reported 2, 3, or 1 provisional ballots voted, and when we opened the bag, we didn't find anything. Should we have noticed that was the question?
Correct.
Should we have noticed that at that point?
We were noticed that there were tallies that by poll workers there were provisionals that were not found, but again, staff went through all the materials that was associated with the provisional ballot bag and returned the materials that was not found. It was only.
But we weren't told, the commissioners were not told that the poll clerks reported X number voted and there was nothing in the bag.
I don't think this is something, Mr. Staff, that let me ask this question. Does this happen and you, I mean, this has happened in other elections,
Correct.
that you haven't reported to this, because we don't know whether it's provisional, additional provisional, or in standing provisional ballots, right?
Yes.
Sometimes we don't find those provisional.
Correct.
It's just a number that is written down, so it's information. You only give to the commissioners what you have, what you've researched, what you've done.
And we researched it for a while.
Right, and you go through the bags again and everything. So I think the staff, as a standard operating procedure, that's the way they give it to us. It's not, they haven't given to us this election, past elections, previous elections. There's something that's outstanding or missing, because it is us, some of them are outstanding or missing, they're not there.
Sometimes it's just they write the wrong number.
Sometimes they write the wrong number down in addition. So it's an inconsistency, but we've never asked the staff to come to us and tell us that we're one vote off of the provisional ballots. They've never done that with us.
There has to be a procedure.
Doesn't make it,
There's not-
Which
doesn't
the
make it
staff,
right.
with which the
there's
staff
not
has
been a-
familiarity,
Right,
correct?
it has not been our procedure in the past. If we want to change our standard
doing what?
operating procedure.
Alerting anyone in particular other
Right.
than
The staff is the one who works on it.
But there's a ton of boxes to go through before we can determine where this item might be. It's gonna take us weeks to go through those boxes. We mark it, we went to the towns that were close, that you had to choose with, to do those first. And Sagal was the first town. So there may be others, we don't know.
Wait, Commissioner Frankel and Commissioner Katz, according to NJSA 1953C-10, Section B, which discusses voting via provisional ballot, placed in envelope written instructions, it states the following. The voter shall hand the sealed envelope to the member of the district court. The member shall keep the sealed envelope in full view of the voter, the other district members, and all other persons present until it is placed in a provisional ballot bag. The voter may also take hold of the envelope with that member of the board until the envelope is placed in the provisional ballot bag. The security of the provisional ballot bag and its contents, while any election occurs, shall be the responsibility of the members of the district court. After placing the envelope in the provisional ballot bag, the member of the district court shall hand to the voter the written notice of instructions on how the voter may access information as to whether the ballot of the individual is accepted for counting and the reason for the rejection of the counting. Further, it extends to section 53C, section 11, inventory regarding the provisional ballots. As stated yesterday, each of those spoiled bags has an inventory associated by which the poll clerks do sign and certify as to the quantity of the provisional ballots accepted, spoiled, or the remaining amount of those provisional ballots. It then specifies upon completion of the inventory of the provisional ballots that they are to sign that certification, which goes along with the provisional ballot bag. So being that yesterday you have indicated because the sealed in accordance was not properly sealed, all of those provisional ballots inside those bags were deemed rejected. Now, in addressing this, okay, there's specific instructions regarding the transport and the delivery of the provisional ballot.
bags were in fact sealed.
However, it says here that in terms of the transportation of the provisional ballot bag, it's supposed to be in the ballot bag. Now, as
Of
to
course,
whether.
and that's the issue, that
That
in
is
fact,
the issue.
somebody signed the fact, those poll clerks signed that sheet. I can't for a moment believe that they were not aware of the numbers that should have been in that bag. So the question that you're all having, I'm assuming, is what happened to those ballots and how did they get outside of the sealed bag, and did that occur when we checked in here, which could not have been the case, correct?
It's obvious that it's a poll clerk error on their part. And
Why is it over there? Why is it obvious?
It's sealed back, it's sealed back.
inside the
It's not- it's not-
certification, they
it's
didn't
not-
put the ballots in.
Yeah,
Back.
exactly.
Okay, so when we got those bags here, we just put them into the same spaces where the ballot bags were placed, correct? Correctly sealed ballot bags all go into a particular space?
They go into a plastic container that's gets sealed,
Until we get to the ballots.
come to us.
Okay.
So the poll workers put each individual bag into a.
So when it's our
container,
time
seal it.
then, as a board, to review the actual ballots, that's when you now go back and open those bags.
So you have to
Which is
realize
why we weren't told about it immediately after the election.
It wasn't in the.
But it took some time to go from that to our being notified.
No, we're working on that today.
I just,
You got it.
which brings us back to the fact that we have ballots that were not in the properly sealed bags in which they possibly could have come. I can't imagine, because you're saying absolutely not, that they got here somehow in that. Well, is it possible that the poll clerk, after having been told by so many of us, you have to seal the thing properly, realized it wasn't sealed, knew they couldn't open it, put the ballots into it, and figured that, whatever, that's another possibility, it doesn't matter, there's a lot of speculation, and I hate to go into that. I agree. But what they're now saying is the ballots are ours, we have them. They are saying to us, here are the ballots, correctly as cited on those bags, just doesn't happen to be properly sealed. Which puts us back to the point that if we receive them and they're not properly sealed, at this point, we cannot count them unless our rules change drastically for the next year. But I said that initially.
And to be consistent.
They have to be
We have to be
consistent.
consistent throughout the process.
Correct.
So that's, fortunately, that doesn't help these 6 provisionals out
Correct.
here, but it's consistent with what the board has
Has
voted
done.
on.
If I ask a question, then it would be appropriate to say that most of the times that we discovered provisional ballots in election day envelopes, it's usually found.
Election day materials.
Election day is the one specifically referencing those or even polls. It usually happens after the certification of election.
Yes.
And therefore, it's probably brought up at the next available board hearing for you guys.
Has it happened in the past? No?
Yes.
Which is why you're going through
And sometimes
the
they're not in
boxes to
envelopes.
begin with, correct?
We were going through the boxes, we were working on the whole book.
Right.
You see that?
Lucille?
Yes. At the polling booths, now there is that form on the wall, you know, that they have to keep every 2 hours.
Yeah.
They're supposed to, I don't know where that generates from. Is it from the Board of Elections, from the county clerk's office?
Which the sheet, the blank
The
sheet?
sheet
or-
that says how many
They have to
provisionals,
have that.
every 2 hours
The
is
tally.
changed.
The tally every
The
time.
tally has to be
Can I
seen.
answer? It's in with the poll book, so we generate it, we put it in with the poll book.
The question is, who started that to begin with?
We print the form.
State
Was
law.
Was it a state law, national law?
It's a state law. We put
State
it-
State law adopted at the
So
same
It's supposed to
time
be
as.
posted in the.
That's
poll.
new last year.
Right, so this is new and it's a whole new learning experience for them.
Some of it,
That part.
yes.
Right. So in those tallies, in those in those districts, was there something that said at 2 o'clock we had 3 provisional? Now, I'm not even sure if it relates, but I'm gonna try to convince them.
Do we have that?
You know, do you have those tallies that say, in this district at 10 o'clock, there's so many votes provisional and so many registered? Do we have those forms to even match up throughout the day there?
We have not gone through all the supplies, so we asked the municipal clerks to bring that on election night.
Those sheets
As
go to the
one
municipal
vote.
clerks?
They come,
It's part of this.
it's in with the poll books, the poll workers bring it to the municipal clerk. The municipal clerk is supposed to gather 6 items on election night, that's one of them.
Okay, so they
I
can't see it.
don't have them, so it's gotta be in with the supplies again, because we have signs, we have paperwork, we have pads, we have a lot of boxes to go through, so we
Right.
have not discovered them yet.
Well, just to answer the question directly, it would be that, if it was done properly,
If it was
you
done,
would
they
have
should
those
have been in
sheets
the
here.
boxes.
Yes, but I'm not, I don't memorize every piece of paper on every sort, but I've seen some of this, since it was a new thing at an election officials conference, they did have some of the forms, and I believe the only discussion was if you had either A through K or L through Z, that they put the numbers in total, but I'm not sure. Do we have a blank form? Do
It's,
we have any
I
one?
can get for you.
The thing is, I don't know if that's the certification, it's just a very.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's right, it's not, right.
I'm just trying to answer the question that was asked, And then to answer it intelligently, can we just get, someone just get a copy of that?
I'm just curious if it's a state law
Yeah.
that it's
I
being
don't.
followed, and maybe there's a reason for
Lucille, I
it.
do not believe, and I have to see the form, but I don't believe that there was a spot on that form for the poll clerks to list the number of votes by mail ballots cast as.
Not vote by mail,
No,
provisional.
she's not asking that, yeah, she's asking, it's
Right.
machine count and provisional count.
Right.
The machine count comes from the back of the machine,
Okay.
and then the provisional count is supposed to tally.
Correct.
I don't remember whether that was on that form or not.
It is.
Yeah.
It is machine and provisional.
It does say
It's a
multiple-
state
provisional.
law,
I
and
made
it
the
should
form.
come here.
I made the
Okay.
form. If it's
But-
multiple machines, there's spot for both machines.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I raised all these things, both of these things out loud, so that the process could go through it. I do have to agree, based on the chain of custody issue, that these ballots were not in the sealed ballot bag, which is the only way they're supposed to be if we're going to count them. I'm very unhappy in terms of this, as I think we all are. And quite frankly, when I've got envelopes that are for election day materials, where I have two poll clerks who have signed and said, this is what's supposed to be in there, I'd like these poll clerks that signed this get fired. Not a warning that they won't be hired again. We've got two poll clerks, 6 poll clerks in this instance, 2 in each instance who have signed, said, we've sealed this and stuff, and that's what's supposed to be in there, and we've signed it. And in each instance, they signed it improperly. They put in things that clearly didn't belong in. So, if there is a motion made to reject these ballots, I unfortunately will vote for, not unfortunately, I mean, I'm not happy, but I will vote for it. But I would also request at the same time that all 6 of those poll clerks who were signed that are never hired again in Middlesex County as poll clerks.
So can we make one motion at a time?
That's fine.
The only thing I would suggest is, because the ballots are critical today to our meeting, before you go ahead and make the second motion on the poll workers, I'd like to discuss that at our next meeting and not at this meeting, just to discuss.
No, I'd like to, if I'm gonna do it, I wanna do it both at the same time, because it's very clear, the situation. Either we do it or we don't do it.
But we didn't finalize our discussion of that yesterday, so when we were here yesterday, so.
We had full clerk was the same situation, one at a time.
So,
In my view,
I got that, I'm
in
just
my view, in the
reminding
other
you
instances,
that
in the other
discussion
instances,
yesterday.
Can't hear when 2 are speaking.
I did.
okay. In my view, the fact that they didn't seal the bag is egregious, but they didn't certify that they didn't seal the bag, et cetera, et cetera. They made a mistake. So we're giving them a second, one notice and opportunity here. In this instance, this says, after sealing, this must be signed by 2 members of the board. After sealing, the people that did this put these things in this bag, sealed it, and signed it. And it says what's supposed to be in there.
Beatrice, you were going to say something?
I believed that we had not finalized a major discussion yesterday about poll clerks, so I am much more comfortable
We did.
discussing at the next meeting what actions we would take, since I believe that the preponderance of poll clerks this last election time, if you recall the numbers we received yesterday, and it doesn't matter if it's a close election or not, we had towns where there were 6, 7 precincts where there were problems. That needs to be corrected. We're gonna have new machines at some point that we'll be dealing with. We wanna make sure that the person's working the clerk. So, I'd like to vote on these particular ballots. I understand you're gonna make another motion. My motion would just be to have one time when we really discuss what plans we would have for the future when we do the training, short of certainly changing our presentations that we make with the staff here as to the physical pieces of an election day, the machine, the bags, etc., because more has to go into it in terms of the timing involved, the person's attention to detail certainly, and that each person will be held directly responsible for those signatures.
Based on our past practice in terms of unsealed bags, in each instance over several years, we notified the poll clerks, warned them, and told them if it happened again, they would never be hired again. We've done that. This is ongoing, and this is what we said yesterday that we agreed. Yes, yesterday when we continued, we said we continue to practice. So it's not something new for that part to be discussed, this is continuing past practice. This is a different situation. So, and I'm not, it doesn't have to be melded into anything else because that other part of it was already determined, past practice and done. And if there's a reluctance to fire these people, then I'm not sure I'm gonna even vote.
I would anticipate, regardless of what you vote here today on these particular ones, where you say the poll workers signed off, the envelope is sealed, etc., regardless of which way you vote, this matter will probably be resolved in the courts.
Correct. That's correct, Senator, and I think I would like to stay, as commissioners, I would just like to stay consistent to what we're saying. When you have elections like this, as we are very, very close, I think your statement is absolutely 100% correct.
I'd like to ask you to hold off your vote until those sheets mandated by the state are at least before you.
It doesn't, you see, and that the sheets aren't signed. Two, the sheets, they're not certifying anything. This is one of many, in my opinion, poorly thought out changes to the election law that were done rapidly. And it doesn't say, it doesn't help, it doesn't really affect us one way or another.
I think the chair is referring to the actual ballot. Rejection.
You're talking about the sheets that
I'd
posted?
like to, there's a new law, so we're gonna learn about it. And if this is the learning process of what's right, wrong, or whatever, let's make sure that we're all following the same things. If you've got 4 ballots, 4 provisionals in one district, that should be noted on that.
There is a spot on here for provisional ballot voters.
And in those districts that are in question, are they?
We don't have that, but it doesn't, there's no certification, there's no certification here. There's nothing, there's no requirement to do anything except
And it
post
doesn't
numbers.
change, I need to be consistent with our vote, correct? This year, Commissioner? Don't we have to be consistent with our vote based on the information we received? In terms
I
of.
just said that. I just said, okay, so
Is
assuming
there a
that,
motion?
but I want to fire the people at this, I want to fire the people at the same time. I want to fire people at the
I
same time.
imagine those sheets will be part of the court cases.
Sure.
Yep.
So let's keep them all.
Commissioner,
Yep.
Madam Chair. All right, regarding the poll clerks, I just wanted to mention that you go and see for how many years those poll clerks were working as a poll clerk before you fire them. It could be a new poll clerk that needs more training. And then if you see that's an old poll clerk that has many experience,
Experienced or old?
I don't mean the old that age. I mean that many years of experience, then you decide if they handle the provisional ballots the right way, properly.
I just want to add, I think the critical issue right now is whether the vote is going to reject those provisional ballots. And I understand that immediately the error of a poll clerk just disenfranchised voters. That is a serious error. However, I also believe in due process, okay? And that being said, what happens with the poll clerks, they have to decide amongst themselves who's going to be the judge, who's going to be the inspector. Normally, there's 4 to 6 poll clerks working on a table, okay? So just because a person signed those envelopes may not have been because they truly wanted to be a judge or they truly wanted to be the inspector. So I would imagine that it is an egregious error and there needs to be accountability. However, what's the biggest issue right now is whether to reject or accept. And that other issue regarding the poll clerks, I don't think that it should only apply in this instance. It should really apply to the fact that these
these ballots that were not sealed properly? And do you punish only the two, or do you punish, the whole table? And that, I think, is really a question that you need to weigh in terms of the disenfranchisement of the voters, the experience, and exactly, is it the two that they chose to be the judge or the inspector? So I just feel that I really more into the due process of it, and it's egregious. Do I personally feel that they should be given another opportunity? See, this is a big, big error, and unless there's a thought-out process of how you're going to immediately handle it, this error is going to continue. Okay, so.
But also the poll bags that were, the provisional bags that weren't sealed yesterday is a major error too.
And that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
both.
and people
Yes.
have
That
been
error
disenfranchised.
and this, both, both.
Listen,
Absolutely.
I also want to bring up that, I can't speak for any of us other than say it, but I also know that at the last minute, we were missing poll workers, okay? And we were trying to take poll workers from one district to another just to fill in. The last minute, we lost 2 poll workers just in one district. I don't know what the districts were, but it is, with all due respect to everybody in the room, it is very hard to get poll workers. And, even though you're paying them the money, it's just not that easy. They sign up and then they drop out. So I will tell you that on the election day, we were short poll workers. And I did go to the clerk to ask her to move around poll workers to put them in areas where I only had 2 people to 1 poll booth.
I'm sure many of you could cite that same circumstance in the towns where you live, if you have any information regarding that. I know I certainly can.
Okay, I can accept bifurcation of the 2 motions, but as long as my motion is, the second motion is accepted regarding firing, you can determine what you want to do with that motion. If there is a second, you can vote on it, you can vote to table to the next meeting, but I want it on the record here and now.
And I will
Okay?
second that.
Well, you make the motion to
The first one, you
make the first
Make
motion
a motion on the ballots first.
on the ballots.
I move that we reject, thank you, that we reject the ballots due to the circumstances of our receiving,
Okay.
which I will not cite again.
I'll second it.
Roll call, roll call.
Roll call,
Chairman Engel?
yes to reject.
Commissioner Brennan?
Yes to reject.
Commissioner Cast?
Yes to reject.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, to reject.
Reluctant.
Yeah. Now, for the record, I move that the 6 poll clerks who sealed who put the vote by mail ballots, who put the provisional ballots in the election day envelope, sealed it, and then signed that that's what they did, be fired. With that, be fired, i.e. they would never be hired as a poll clerk again in Middlesex County. And that the other poll clerks in those districts get the same warning that we're sending to the poll clerks who return unsealed ballots, because this is the equivalent of that.
With respect to your position, I will second that nomination
So,
for discussion purposes.
for discussion. So I would like to, your
You
suggestion.
can move- if you want to move to-
I would like to move it to the next meeting so we have more time to discuss and do more research. And at our next meeting, review that, what could be, just our procedure going forward. So I guess I'm asking to amend.
Move to postpone.
Move to
We'll
postpone.
postpone it.
We made motion in a second, so I don't know if
Yes.
in Robert's rules.
Yes.
I don't know if I can move to postpone here. I don't know if I can move to postpone.
I'll accept, do the second, and I will vote in favor of that motion to postpone to the next week.
Okay, so I'd like
I want
to,
the motion
can I
on the record.
amend your motion to move to the next meeting then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I second the amendment as well as the original
Okay,
motion.
Maria, roll call.
Chairman Engel?
Move to postpone.
Yeah,
To the
Commissioner
next
Brennan?
meeting.
just say yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Commissioner Cast?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
And, just as a general note,
Second.
after we, we'll favor it. This will be a comment.
All right, commissioner comment first.
One commissioner comment. Once we finish this part of it, I would suggest that we be as proactive as possible if we decide to fire these people and the hearing, that we make sure that the decision is as widely circulated as possible, so people who are at Middlesex take it even more seriously that we tell them to do in connection with sealing the ballot bags and the proper handling of the provisional ballots. It's nothing to vote on now, but
Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
yes.
This special
This-
meeting,
Yes.
correct?
We're still,
This special meeting that you are adjourning,
What's
not our
happening?
regular.
For the ballot.
Yes,
what is happening now, as I understand it, Tom, do you want to explain what's happening for them now? So people-
so the public understands.
What we'll be doing now is at the conclusion is that, much like yesterday in terms of provisional ballots that many of you are here for, we will be rescanning vote by mail ballots that came to our office prior to Election Day, as well as Wednesday and Thursday mail-in ballots that were postmarked, that were received by the board, that were tabulated on tabulator 1. And for those who weren't aware of the
Tabulator
issue,
Tabulator.
That's what the
That's where
tabulator's
today's.
going there.
Oh, that's where I put it
Yes.
down. Oh, okay.
What was, for those who were
What this says, by
unaware,
the way.
what was discovered during the Wednesday, what was discovered after the scan of the Wednesday and Thursday vote by mail ballots that were postmarked was that our vendor as well as staff noticed in the images that were saved a slight line which could have impacted undervotes and overvotes. And so it was determined that that line did in fact affect the total not the total number of voters, but total votes. And so out of overabundance of caution, we addressed the question to the AG as well as to the commissioners, and we thought it was appropriate for today to rescan all those ballots on the tabulator so that we have a true accurate reading of those vote by mail ballots. And so that is what we're doing. We have Dominion, again, much like yesterday, in terms of provisional ballots, we'll be bringing the tabulators in and having the technicians from Dominion explain the process and the setup, as well as the reports and tests that they would do with each machine to illustrate their ability to count correctly. And we will be running all the ballots that were done on tabulator 1 on 2 machines for time. And we will do them in the same fashion batches that they were done on Election Day.
Lucille, question?
So these ballots come in, somebody opens them on election day or previous to election day?
On Election Day.
Okay, and then who puts them into this machine?
It is done by Board of Election staff as well as the technicians hired on site for the day.
And these are Board of Election staff or county staff?
No, Board of Elections employees, and my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, in each instance where we do that, right, we have a Republican and a Democrat employee there at all times that are being run through.
Always.
Okay, so the Republican and Democrat open the ballot, check it, that's all okay, then it goes to the machine.
Well, you observe that process in the room, so those ballots that, we're taking out on Election Day or taking in the back, they're kind of adjusted so that they're in batches, we're calling batches of 100 to 200 per batch, and they're run through the machine. So there are 2 tabulators, tabulator 1 and tabulator 2. The question arose that we can certify with tabulator 2 because the saved images. The issue was that on the rescan on Friday, we weren't able to go back and review those images on Election Day. So there was abundance of caution to make sure that the accurate count from Wednesday, Thursday, as well as Election Day, we wanted to go through it and scan all those ballots.
In your recent explanation just now, you said vote by mail, mail-in ballot, and now went to election day. So the actual ballots that we're checking,
It's
No, I
can
need to
clarify,
conclude
it
it,
will
we just
be-
used all
What
three
we are,
terms.
we were
which is
rescanning or retabbing today is all
Vote
open
by
mail
mail.
ballots
Vote by mail.
that came prior to election day and including election day, as well as
And
Wednesday, Thursday,
Thursday.
vote by mail
Okay.
ballots. And then
That
we
were run through.
That were run through tabulator one.
Vote by mail.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Just two different terms.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
I was here yesterday. One of the problems was that machine number 1 wasn't cleaned. Have they cleaned the machine since yesterday? Because obviously if it's running a lot of ballots, maybe that line reappears. The other question I have is when one was rejected in the machine, we physically took them out and they counted to make sure they were the right ones. Was that same procedure followed when the public wasn't available to watch?
To answer your last question first, yes. For the, your first question was is in terms of,
Did they clean the machine since
they
yesterday?
have cleaned the machines since yesterday, and they will do so again, much like they did at the beginning of yesterday, in terms of the setup. They will clean the machines, do the calibration, as well as the tests, to certify the machines are ready to count them in an orderly fashion.
All right, but so on election day, when the public wasn't here watching, if one got stopped and they said you had to count back 10,
Yes.
and then the previous one, each time that was counted to make sure there was an accurate number?
Correct.
I just have another question.
Sure.
Now, when you do the scanning through the machine,
I mean,
okay,
sign the right.
we received a demonstration that that scan is a digital scan on the machine. So in your findings, okay, from election day, did you review all of the scanned images and did all of those images present themselves with a line that you're referencing that has happened in the post-election scanning in tabulator one?
Sure, not on tabulator 2. So that's why we're only doing tabulator 1, vote by mail ballots. For tabulator 1, those images were reset once we did the scan for Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, vote by mail ballots.
Now, it's my understanding, according to NJSA law, that if you utilize a machine that contains a digital image of a scan, that those images are to be held, okay? So what you're just stating right now, that there was a reset of those images that we cannot reference back as to what was scanned that Wednesday on election day, is that what, am I hearing that correctly?
Correct, hence why we're
So
scanning.
why were those images wiped from that content? 'Cause unless I see proof from those digital scans,
The meeting's over.
The meeting's over.
The meeting's over, so.
from those digital scans, how do we know that those digital scans actually were impacted on election day? And not just what happened post-election? Why were those images raised, which according to the law, that you're supposed to keep them? They're put on a disc, so have you evaluated those scan images that were done on election day and that they all have a line through it where
Only on
tabulator?
tabulator 2, and our vendor and staff can't provide the images from tabulator 1. Hence why we're doing the rescans.
Okay, let's get up and let them work, okay?
So you don't have the